Yes, hello tradies. Welcome to the Air Raid Zone, brought to you by HBF Health Insurance. Make the trade and join HBF, your health dream team.
Do you want to share what you just said off air?
Oh,
No, that's why I didn't want to bring it up. I just thought I'd pose the question.
Thank you for posing that. You're becoming Matthew Lloyd very, very quickly. You can't say anything to Lordo now off air because it finds its way on air.
Okay, I'm going to leave it then.
So last night, I'll give our tradies a little insight. Last night, Lordy and I were talking about Adelaide, and Lordy really rates them. And he's like, "Oh, what do you think?" And I was like, "Oh, well, have a look at their next four." Like, I'm not convinced on Adelaide.
Suns, Cats.
Yep. They play Freo in Freo, and the Giants.
Big month.
Big month for the Crows.
Big boy month.
And I think we'll learn a little. I think we'll learn a little bit more about the Crows. Anyway, so then we get on air, and Lordo's basically trying to get me to say that I think they'll be 0-4, like from those four games. Classic sledgehammer.
Lordo.
Anyway, I digress.
He's a cheeky man.
I'm not saying. I will say most of what I said off air in my upcoming rant, but it sounds like you and I want to talk about the same thing.
Tasmania, Macquarie Point, Hobart Stadium.
Who's ringing you?
It's an 03 number.
Oh, you won't be answering that.
Tassie actually uses the same 03, I think. So it could be Tassie.
Could be the Planning Commission, which has released a scathing report that slams the proposed Macquarie Point Stadium on economic, planning and social grounds. Describes the roof stadium as quote-unquote overbearing, that it risks Tasmania's credit rating, has minimal social and community benefits, and does not serve a purpose as an urban renewable project.
It was damning. Yeah, I read a large portion of that 130-odd page document last night. The draft report from the Planning Commission. So for the timeline purposes, they've released a draft start of April. The final copy is due September.
I shouldn't laugh. But it is funny reading parts of this.
Where do you want to start? Because it was covered a bit of turf.
Well, let's start with the cost. So the government estimated that it's going to cost $775.
Yeah,
right.
So it was $715. Now it's $775.
Yeah, because they forgot to put kitchens and the scoreboard in.
They're valuable parts of a stadium.
Hard to have a stadium without a kitchen. The government estimates it'll cost $775. The Planning Commission estimates it would instead be $861, which would then rise to $1.2 billion once a required footbridge, road access changes, public transport infrastructure, a shed relocation, and sewerage realignment are included.
Mm-hmm.
So, just to be clear, the government didn't take into consideration that they needed to build a footbridge.
Is that part of the stadium cost?
Well, you can't have a stadium without getting people in.
Yeah, but it's semantics on whether it's included in the actual figure.
And the sewerage realignment thing is very funny. Because Taswater have come along and go, hey, we've got a fairly important pipe down there. What do you mean? Well, we can't move that pipe. Well, can we just build? No, you've got to realign it. What does that mean? Well, you got to dig under and you got to pick it up and you got to.
It's going to cost millions. The most damning part of it for me was the Planning Commission document from yesterday suggests that they're only going to have 50 cents return on investment for every dollar the government spends on the new stadium. So the benefits for the state, and this gets back to what people in Tassie have been protesting for months, and I know they're a protest state, but that it should be spent on housing and schools and education plus health.
This is another quote from the report. The height, coarse grain, and size of the stadium roof intrude on the identity of the place and the city. What does that mean?
Well, from a distance, it looks like it's a spaceship that's landed in Hobart.
That's because it is. That's what happens when you build new stuff.
Yep.
It looks new. What are we talking about here?
Are you across the roof chat from last week?
Am I across the roof chat?
So Cricket Australia, in conjunction with Cricket Tasmania, have written to the authorities down there saying we don't like the design of the roofs with the slats that will have, during daylight, shade across the cricket pitch.
Now, you know I've been fairly critical of this proposal and the stadium. But Cricket Australia, give me a spell. So let's just...
They're going to be a key stakeholder.
Let's wind this back just a little bit, okay? So Cricket Tasmania sitting there in a room talking about this new stadium. Mitch, have you seen this new stadium? Yeah, it looks good, doesn't it? Yeah. Are we going to be playing there? Well, bloody hope so. Okay. But we've got Belrive. Yeah, no, we've got Belrive. But like, how much would we have to put in for the new stadium? Well, nothing. Oh, beauty. Okay, sweet. Who's building it? Well, the AFL have sort of done the heavy lifting, and the government are going to spend the money on it.
Have the AFL? They're not tipping in that much, the AFL.
They've done the heavy lifting. They've created the team.
Yeah, anyway, they're not creating the stadium.
Let me go back. Okay, no worries. Anyway, a couple months later. Hey, Mitch, have you seen this? Have you seen the plans for the stadium? No, I just assumed that we'd play there. Okay. Well, so what's... Well, there's sort of some shadows. Shadows from what? Well, the roof. Oh, this looks awful. Oh, okay. Hey, do you want to just let's write to the government, write to the Premier and say, Jez, it's Jeremy Rockcliffe, we like the stadium, but can you just take the roof off and then like we'll be fine and that won't interfere with the pitch. The AFL's sitting there going, hang on, this is the greatest freeloading act of all time. What have you got to do with the stadium? But you can continue to play at Belrive if you want.
A key part of why the government has got this through to this point is having so many events a year. And the footy's only going to be, 9 or 10 games a year, if that, maybe 8.
But the stadium is only happening because of the team.
But there's going to be more days of cricket in the stadium than footy each year.
It's irrelevant. It is irrelevant. The stadium is only happening because the AFL are creating a 19th licence in which off the back of that, there has to be an asset which creates revenue. If there's no team, there's no stadium. And if there's no stadium, there's no team. Now, this is what I think is going to happen.
Take us through it.
I think that on September 17...
when we get the final report from the Planning Commission. I think the
Planning Commission is going to turn around and say, I think we should build the stadium but don't have a roof. Because we're going to save $250 million. Now, this is going to be the biggest game of chicken that we have seen politically in sport in this country in a long, long time. Because then Andrew Dillon and Richard Goyder have two choices. First choice. Okay, well, we really wanted a roof, but you're the government. It's your stadium. You guys decide how you want to build it. We'll work around you. That's choice number one. That's door number one.
So they'll be going back on their promise they made to the other clubs.
Door number two. Okay, thank you, Tasmanian Planning Commission, and thank you, government. You're welcome to build whatever you want. Ultimately, 98% of it is your money, but we made a commitment to our 18 clubs and to our fans, and the commitment was if there's no roof, there's no team. So we are rescinding the provisional licence granted to the Tasmanian Devils. There is no more Tasmanian Devils. The 200,000 members do not exist anymore, and thank you for your time. They are the only two choices.
I like where you're thinking, though. I reckon that is firming as an option for the Planning Commission to push against the roof.
I'm very worried about the Devils. I'm very worried. And I will continue to question whether this team is actually coming in until I hear what is going on with this stadium.
And bring it back to trade. What happens with the list concessions the AFL is planning to release to clubs in June?
Well, there cannot be list concessions to a team that does not exist.
So we release them anyway and then we just remove them?
I think so. But the longer that this stuff goes down the road, the further this stuff goes down the road, like list concessions, the harder it is for Andrew Dillon to play this game of chicken. I think the government are going to sit there and go, wait, they're not going to pull out of the team. Imagine the backlash on the AFL if they pull out of the team. But there's an easy out for the AFL. We are governed by our fans, and we are governed by our 18 clubs. We made a commitment to both of them, and we're not backing out of it. Andrew Dillon can say it's got nothing to do with me. I'm holding up my end of the agreement. You guys aren't. Now, I don't know if the Tradies listeners care about the stadium as much as you and I do. But the point is, the stadium is the key to the team. And we love talking about teams and list builds. The Tasmanian list build, if the team happens, is going to be fascinating for us to watch, for us to talk about the impact that it has on the other 18 teams, the impact that it has on the draft, the impact that it has on trade, the impact that it has on signing bonuses that will be granted to this team. And the short-sightedness of the Tasmanian government will never cease to amaze me. But that's their axe to grind. And, you know, the federal government may not exist in its current form in a couple of months' time after the election. So who knows what's going to happen? You've got governments that only really want to make decisions 4 years at a time because that's the time that they're allowed to govern for. They don't really think about 50 years at a time. And you've got the AFL that are trying to nationalise the competition. I really don't know what happens, door number 1 or door number 2, but I'll worry for the stadium.
And if it does cost $1.2 billion, that's $400 million over budget.
There's no way it's going to cost 1.2. No way.
More?
No way.
More?
Oh, yeah. It's got a 2 in front of it.
But the AFL and the federal government have capped their spending. So that's all coming out of the Tassie state coffers.
Well, the feds will cough up a bit more. They'll have to. I tell you who's got heaps of money just to throw around. Well, us here in Victoria. Oh, no, we're in debt. Hang on. Sorry. Scratch that, Scotty. So I forgot.
We should do a government breakaway.
No, I'll never be allowed on air ever again. That's it for the Siren, brought to you by HBF Health Insurance. Make the trade and join HBF, your health dream team. We'll see you next week.